Thank you, Tina. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Shimply, head nutritionist, lifestyle expert, and head of training with Luke Coutinho. Today, I'm going to talk about HIIT. I'm sure most of you must have heard of HIIT, or you may have seen people doing it. A lot of videos that we see on fitness pages on social media, or some of you must be doing it already. It's definitely gaining a lot of attention in the world of fitness, and it should because it's very powerful, very effective, and it carries massive benefits. In fact, a lot of fitness professionals have voted HIIT as one of the top fitness trends in a survey done by American College of Sports Science well. And that's why I thought of talking about it to you all in detail today to probably get you all started as well. Okay, so first things first, what is HIIT? It stands for High Intensity Interval Training. Okay, it's a training technique which includes a combination of short bouts of intense exercise and also periods of rest or low intensity exercise in between. So you alternate between the two. Super high intensity for a few seconds or a few minutes, wherein you give all out 100%, and then it is followed by either low intensity exercise or complete halting of exercise for a few seconds or a few minutes. Okay, so that's what HIIT is. Quite simple, basically going fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow. Okay, hope you got the idea. So it is effective on multiple fronts. It's great for boosting your endurance. It helps develop strength. And if you do it consistently and in the right way, it will help you get shredded and have a fantastic body as well. It can be literally done anywhere, at home or in the park or at the beach. And it doesn't usually require any workout equipment. And most importantly, it is super efficient in terms of time commitment. I think that's the biggest advantage of HIIT. It's very quick, very convenient. It's the best workout for people who are pressed for time, and that's one reason why it works for me and for all our clients who have a busy work schedule. These workouts can be as short as 10 minutes, 7 minutes, or even 4 minutes. And who can't spare that? All of us can, right? So, despite how short the workout is, it can offer health benefits similar to twice as much moderate intensity exercise. Now, there are so many studies which show that you can achieve more progress in a mere 15 minutes of interval walking, which is done just for say 3 times a week, than a person jogging on a treadmill for an hour daily. It's that effective. Okay, so talking about the benefits of HIIT, the single most well established benefit has to do with heart health and cardiac function. Okay, during the high or during the alternate heart charging intervals, a person's heart rate reaches at least 80% of its maximum capacity for about 1 to 5 minutes. And that's why it has the ability to improve something called as VO2 max. VO2 max is nothing but the maximum volume of oxygen that our body can use. Okay, it is a measure of your endurance, and HIT is meant to boost that. So it kind of fills up your body with oxygen. Okay, and the more aerobically fit you are, the better your heart can pump blood. Okay, the stroke volume, HIIT increases something called a stroke volume, which is the volume of blood that comes out when the heart contracts, and it reaches all your tissues and trillions of cells that your body is made up of, right? So HIT is brilliant for improving your aerobic fitness. It can actually help you reduce your blood pressure and your heart rate as well, because it kind of reduces the effort that your heart has to put in to pump blood. Okay, because that one stroke becomes so powerful that your heart is able to supply blood all across your body. So it kind of lowers your heart rate. And we know lower heart rate, when it comes to heart rate, lower the better, because your heart doesn't have to pump too often and too fast to pump enough blood for all your body. So it's definitely fantastic for your heart health. Also, HIT has known to reduce, it has shown to reduce insulin resistance and regulate blood sugar levels also in a better way compared to a continuous form of exercise. Okay, a steady state exercise. So it's excellent for people with type 2 diabetes, PCOD, where we see a lot of insulin resistance issues, metabolic syndrome, all of that. Right now, coming to the point that most of you ask about whether HIIT helps lose weight or it helps with fat loss. Well, yes, it is the best way to lose fat and also tone up your body. Okay, long duration cardio workouts, which people usually do for like 1 hour, 1.5 hours, it may help you lose weight, but you may not necessarily lose only fat. Long cardios can lead to a lot of muscle wasting as well. You may end up dropping the number on the weighing scale. Okay, but your body may also end up being soft and flabby and untoned because you've lost your muscle, which is definitely not the right way to lose. Your workouts should help you lose fat while maintaining the important body components, especially your muscle mass. And HIIT exactly does that when it's done in the right way. Okay, now talking about fat loss, how and why HIIT helps you lose or burn fat. Okay, so what it exactly does is it creates a sort of metabolic disturbance in your body. When you go through the short bouts of intense activity, it kind of shakes and shocks your body, which kind of disturbs your homeostasis completely. Homeostasis is the steady state of your internal environment in your body. Okay, and when it disturbs it completely, your body takes more energy, it has to put in more effort and consume more oxygen to bring it back to the normal basal levels. So this means your body ends up burning more calories, and it continues to do that until it reestablishes its homeostasis. So typically, if you go to see, HIIT has this impressive ability to keep your body metabolically charged for the next 4 to 5 hours, even after the workout. That means you are burning calories at a higher rate even after your exercise is done. So this afterburn effect is super real, and it is called as excess post-exercise oxygen consumption (EPOC). EPOC. Okay, this is a period of increased calorie burn after you exercise. So it's mainly the oxygen game here. Okay, it creates an oxygen shortage, causing your body to ask for more oxygen during recovery. And the more oxygen you consume, the better you burn fat, because fat burns in a well oxygenated environment. Okay, and this is why HIIT helps you burn more fat compared to a regular steady state aerobic workout, which doesn't really keep your metabolism high later. Okay, so yes, if you do it the right way, HIIT is the best way to get leaner, fitter, because it helps you lose fat and also helps you with muscle building and muscle retention. If you're using a good combination of body weight exercises that engage several muscle groups as well. So another point is one more important and interesting benefit of HIIT is that it also stimulates the production of human growth hormone, HGH. What does this hormone do in our body? It's naturally produced by our pituitary gland, and it helps with cell regeneration and tissue growth and repair. So it basically plays a role in speeding up the muscle repair process after exercise. And therefore, it helps build up the muscle mass. Okay, and more the muscle, better the calorie burn, because we know muscle is a very, very metabolically active tissue. So the more muscle mass you have, the better your overall metabolism is. Right? So HGH, human growth hormone, in a way is responsible for increased calorie burn. Okay, and most importantly, which most of y'all will like, it is also known to slow down the aging process. We usually produce a good amount of human growth hormone in our younger years, which contributes to youthful attributes like younger looking skin and less body fat, leaner body. And as we age, the HGH production slowly drops. So HRIT is the best way to get those levels up again and reap the benefits of this hormone again. Mainly a younger looking skin and of course a leaner body. Right? So definitely HRIT has some great benefits, and that's the reason why it's gaining so much of popularity. And it's my favorite and everybody's favorite as well, whoever is doing it. Now let's talk about getting started with HIIT. Okay, if you've not been doing it already, let's go through how we can get started on HIIT. So the rule of HIIT is pretty simple. Okay, work really hard, rest, and then work super hard again. Okay, and the cycle should go on. So you start with one HIIT session per week. Okay, and then as you feel you're ready for a greater challenge, make it twice a week and then thrice a week. But make sure you spread out the workouts and never do them on back-to-back days. It shouldn't be back-to-back at all. Okay, you will have to time your sets and rest periods. Okay, you can either do it using a phone timer, or you can play it on YouTube, or you can just use an HIIT app in your phone, which can guide you as you go. You absolutely don't need a fancy gym for this. Just find your own workout space at home or your terrace or your garden or your park, and decide 4 to 5 different exercises that get your heart rate up. And then apply the HIIT format to it: fast, slow, fast, slow. Okay, a good pace to start for beginners is a 1:2 ratio of work to rest. Basically, go all out on a chosen activity for say 20 seconds or 30 seconds or maximum 1 minute, and then rest for twice as long. So for example, for a 20 seconds workout, you will rest for 40 seconds and then start on the next exercise, do it for 20 seconds again, rest for 40 seconds, and so on. And as you get better, you can transition to 1:1 ratio, 20 seconds workout, 20 seconds rest, 20 seconds workout, 20 seconds rest. And then you can also make it 2:1 ratio, 20 seconds workout, 10 seconds rest, 20 seconds rest, so on. Best is to start with interval walking. Okay, for example, you walk at a maximum speed for 2 minutes and then slow down for a minute. Again, walk fast for 2 minutes, slow down for a minute, and so on. Then slowly you can graduate onto interval running, which is run, walk mode. Okay, you can also choose to do interval cycling, cycle fast, cycle slow, and so on. You can jog up the stairs, you can use jump rope, or you can also do jumping jacks. Then slowly add body weight exercises like squats, plank, push-ups, lunges, mountain climbers, burpees. So you can choose any exercise and apply HIIT format to it. It's that simple. Okay, Tabata is the best HIIT that you can do, which includes 20 seconds workout, 10 seconds break, 20 seconds workout, 10 seconds go on. It lasts only for 4 minutes. It's the shortest of all, and that's why I'm a huge fan of Tabata. It just makes sure that I don't miss out on my workouts, even on my hectic days, because all that it takes is just 4 minutes. And I also do Tabata before stepping out for a party because it's going to keep my body in a calorie burning mode. So that sort of reduces the guilt factor when I eat out, because I know I've made the necessary arrangements in my body, which is going to take care of my indulgence. So that's one of the reasons why I also love Tabata. But don't make it a habit. Okay, it's not that you do Tabata and eat junk every day. Okay, don't use it the wrong way. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. Okay. Now, a few things that you need to be careful about. Okay, warm up and cool down. Of course, it's important for any workout, but for HIIT especially, it's extremely important because HIIT is very demanding, physically and mentally both. And it's not a good idea to pop into the HIIT mode right from the bed or immediately after sitting for a full day, because that time your neuromuscular connections are not firing as high as they should be. So you need to be prepping up your body and your mind first before you start getting into an intense zone. Okay, if you skip the warm up, you may not be able to push at max effort, and also you're throwing yourself at a high risk for a potential injury. So a proper warm up, cool down, extremely essential. Even if it's a 4 minute Tabata, you need to spend a few minutes on warming up with a light jog before you start, and cooling down with simple stretches after you're done. Okay, then eating before and after HIIT. Now, in order to qualify as a true HIIT, you'll need to push yourself to max during every set. And it is really hard to do that without some carbs to pull from. Okay, so when it comes to a steady cardio, okay, like a 30-minute brisk walk or a steady walk, like when you're walking at one single pace, all of these things can be done upon waking up and without really eating. But try to go HIIT on an empty stomach, and you'll see that you not only have a decreased performance, but you may also end up feeling very sick and off balance because your body scrambles for energy. This used to happen with me when I started with HIIT. I took it quite casually, and I ended up doing it a couple of times without eating anything. And I observed that every time I did it, I used to feel very dizzy, very giddy. I also fainted a couple of times. And forget the pulling off the workout, my performance dropped for sure. But my body felt very, very weird after that. So make sure you're grabbing a small amount of carb before you kickstart. A small fruit combined with soaked nuts, or a trail mix of nuts and seeds, dry fruits, or a beetroot juice, that's my favorite too, or a boiled sweet potato. These are fantastic pre-energy, pre-workout, pre-HIIT energy sources that you can back on. And post-HIIT, make sure you feed your muscles with a much deserved protein. Okay, because you tend to break down your muscle mass during your workout, and then it has to repair and recuperate itself at a faster rate, for which it requires protein. So a clean protein like a sattu shake, which Luke recently spoke about in his videos. So make sure you're having a good amount of protein after your workout is done. Okay, that keeps you full and supplies your body with the much deserved energy post a crazy intense workout session. Then do not plan long workouts. Remember, when it comes to exercise, less is more. And that's the reason why HIIT works. It has to be short, simple, and super powerful. Like I said in the beginning, it can last anywhere from 4 to 10 to 15 minutes to maximum 30 minutes and not more than that. For example, Tabata, which is a 4 minutes workout, it's so powerful that if you're able to do it the fifth minute, it means you didn't push hard enough in those 4 minutes. It needs to zap you to such an extent that it gets impossible for you to do it for a longer duration. You can actually use the talk test to grade your effort. If you can hold a conversation after the workout, then it means that you didn't work hard enough. So that's how powerful it should be. Okay. Then make sure you're not forgetting about recovery periods. If you cut off your recovery time, you can't go as hard when it comes to crank up the intensity, and then you sort of lose the whole essence of HIIT. Okay, so rest periods in between, super important. Do not compromise on that at all. Okay, then keep it simple. Do not really get into picking complex movements which may affect your intensity and your form as well. Okay, and that could put you at a risk for injury too. So rather than, for example, rather than doing a jump squat, you may just want to do a plain simple squat. Okay, HIIT workouts should be done with exercises that you can perform really well, even with your brain turned off. So yes, keep it simple but powerful. Okay, and do not really be in a rush to progress too fast. Especially if you're a beginner, you really need to start slowly and gradually, because your body will take some time to pick it up. Your musculoskeletal system will take some time to adapt to it. So if you're doing too much too quickly, you can set yourself up for an injury. So just be careful of that. Start slow and step it up gradually. Okay. Now frequency, the most important HIIT rule: less is more. Keep your HIIT days only 3 to 4 times a week and not more than that. Okay, doing it daily or doing it more often would mean you're running the risk of an ineffective recovery. Okay, and an ineffective recovery would mean you're wasting more than building. So keep it to 3 to 4 times a week. The rest of the days can be dedicated for other exercises. It could be simple yoga or stretching or breathing exercises, or just rest it out one day. Okay. So make sure you're not really overstressing or overexerting your body too. Okay. Because too much of exercise, of course, exercise makes us feel good. It helps you release feel good hormones, your endorphins, serotonin, all of it goes high. But if you're exercising too much, then your body perceives it as stress. So rather than releasing feel good hormones, your body starts releasing cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So your workouts do not really work for you in that case, right? So keep it simple, space it out well. Less is more. Don't forget that rule at all. Now, who should not do HIIT and who should do it? Okay. So firstly, as long as you don't have any pain or any injury or any medical reason to abstain from workout, you can do HIIT. Okay. If you're not comfortable with it, if it causes you any pain or you simply don't look forward to doing it, then don't do it. So ideally, HIIT can be done by anybody as long as there's no pain, injury, or any medical reason to abstain from exercise. Okay. So who should not do it? If you're injured or your muscles are strained, then try to stay away from this form of workout, because HIIT puts a lot of stress on your muscles, joints, tendons, ligaments, and chances are that you might end up hurting yourself. So no HIIT in that case. Pregnant ladies, of course, no HIIT until, and not until 8 to 9 months post delivery as well. Okay, if you have any heart condition or if you have undergone cardiac surgery, no HIIT for you. Yes, we discussed that HIIT is great for your heart health. It makes it stronger. It improves your cardiac functioning. But if you're already suffering from a cardiac problem, then it can backfire. So just be careful of that. Then people suffering from osteoporosis, osteopenia, osteomalacia, or forget that. Even if you have low vitamin D levels, you shouldn't be doing HIIT. So get your D3 levels tested first. If you're low, if you're deficient or insufficient on D3, fix it and then take the call on HIIT. Okay. Then people who are brand new to exercise or who have been sedentary or totally inactive, do not jump into HIIT mode immediately. Take things slow. Let your body get used to it. Okay, bring it into your system. Build your base first, and then move ahead. Okay, because it's a very intense exercise, you should always check in with your health coach or your nutritionist or your doctor before starting HIIT. But yeah, you can certainly consider starting off with a simple form of interval training like interval walking or interval running that we discussed. That's something you can start off with. Okay, and then when you want to build it up further, seek the necessary advice. Okay, so do give it a shot. It's the best way to ensure you're not missing out on your workouts, especially when you have a time crunch. So no excuses for workouts anymore. Okay, do your best. So that's all I had to share about HIIT with all of you. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
Okay, so thanks, Simply. That was fantastic. Message received. We shall not
Great.
overdo it at all, although I love my workout.
Yeah.
So there is one question. I know you've already addressed it. Is it good to drink sattu after or before HIIT?
Yes, absolutely. Have it after HIIT, because post workout is a time when you need, your body needs protein. Okay, before workout, all that you need is some energy. Energy could be from a combination of simple and complex carbs. Simple and complex carbs would mean a combination of fruit and nuts, or the trail mix of nuts, seeds, dry fruits, or a sweet potato, which is a great source of complex carbs. Carbs would ensure a sustained supply of energy through the course of your workout. So it wouldn't really result in an energy crash. So have your carbs before workout. Sattu shake, which is a protein source, can be taken after workout when your muscles require that protein to build up. Yeah.
All right. There's another question. Does HIIT and weight exercise have any negative effect on the person who has suffered gut issues like colitis in the past?
So not really, unless you have a very bad muscular pain in your gut. Okay, if you have any active symptoms of colitis, like the most classic symptom of any IBD or IBS condition is alternate bouts of constipation and diarrhea. So if you have frequent episodes of loosies or diarrhea, and you have this constant muscular pain in your gut, then you would probably want to avoid HIIT. But if you see IBD, like any either if it's either Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, they have their periods of flare-ups and remission. So when your condition is under remission, which means there are no current like active symptoms at all, you can certainly go ahead and do HIIT. But if you have your flare-ups, if you have like crazy pain and frequent bouts of diarrhea and constipation, then please avoid HIIT during those days. But otherwise, it's fine.
Thanks for that, Shimpi.
Yeah,
There's one person who does 10 Surya Namaskars and then HIIT. Is that a good enough warm up?
absolutely. That's a great warm-up. You can certainly continue on that. But stick to 10 Surya Namaskars. Don't really go beyond that. Okay, we don't want you to exhaust your body with Surya Namaskars itself, because HIIT is anyway going to consume a lot of your energy. So stick to 10. Don't really exceed 10 Surya Namaskars as a warm-up.
If I'm doing HIIT before intermittent fasting, can
Uh-huh.
I break it with a sattu shake after workout?
Correctly.
Okay, so I think the person is doing the intermittent fasting and then
Yeah.
does HIIT and post that takes a sattu shake. So
Does it mean the
that,
person is doing HIIT during the fasting phase? If yes, not a good
yes,
idea. Do it
okay,
during your building phase, because like I said, you should be eating something before you get into the HIIT mode. Otherwise, it would result in a crash. You may end up feeling giddy and dizzy, like I said. So you can either do HIIT before you begin your fast. Okay. So but just before you begin your fast, you can do HIIT, have your sattu shake, wrap it up there, start your fast. Or you can do it the next day when you break the fast with fruits, nuts, do your HIIT, and then you have your first meal of the day, which can be your post workout meal, sort of a thing too. So do it
okay.
during your building phase and not in your fasting phase at all.
That's really good to know, Shimpi. Thanks for clarifying that.
Great.
Can you explain the heart rate or heart health relation with HIIT again, please?
So basically, during the alternate heart charging intervals, a person's heart rate reaches at least 80% of its maximum capacity. Okay. And that's why HIIT has this ability to improve something called as VO2 max. VO2 max is nothing but the maximum volume of oxygen your body can use. Okay. It is a measure of your endurance, and HIIT is meant to boost that your VO2 max. So it kind of fills up your body with oxygen. Okay, and the more aerobically fit you are, the better your heart can pump blood. Okay, so it improves your stroke volume. Stroke volume is the volume of blood that comes out when the heart contracts. So it reaches all your tissues and all your cells. So HIT is great for improving your aerobic fitness. Okay, it reduces your it reduces your heart rate because it improves your stroke volume. So your heart doesn't have to pump too fast or too often to supply blood all across your body, because that one stroke is so powerful that it just supplies blood all across your body. So it kind of helps you reduce your heart rate, and When it comes to heart rate, lower the better, like I said. So that's how HIIT helps. It's the oxygen game basically. It just fills up your body with oxygen.
Super.
Hope that answers your
Thanks.
question. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thanks, Simply.
Welcome.
How early should beetroot juice be consumed before a workout?
Okay, before a workout, consume it 30-45 minutes before. Don't have it too close to the workout also, because if you consume a heavy, thick liquid just before workout, it may just cause a reflux and it will just make you feel uncomfortable. So keep a gap of 30-45 minutes and then you do your workout.
All right. What about sweet potato?
Mm-hmm.
Should it be consumed boiled or roasted? Which one is more nutritious and beneficial?
Both are good actually, both are good, but make sure you're cooking the sweet potato and not consuming it raw. So boil should be fine, because see, when you it's a complex carbohydrate source, right? So when you boil the sweet potato and you cool it down, it creates something called as resistant starch. Okay, resistant starch is great for your gut. It makes a great prebiotic also. And it also helps, and because sweet potato is a complex carb source, it also ensures a sustained supply of energy in your body. So boiling and cooling it would be a better option actually over roasting.
Okay. Um, are there any standard or widely used important exercise that you suggest we should do when we're doing an HIIT workout?
So if you're a beginner, I would say stick to interval walking or interval running, and slowly as you get into that mode, you can step it up and add other body weight exercises. So keep it simple, like I said: squats, jumping jacks, mountain climbers, burpees, tricep dips, planks. These are great. And so if you're doing, for example, Tabata, which includes 4 exercises, okay, each exercise to be done for 20 seconds and 10-second break, 20 seconds, 10-second break, 20. So if you're doing 4 exercises, out of these four, two can be body weight exercises and two can be just like cardio exercises. So jumping jacks would be a cardio workout. Okay, squat would be a body weight exercise wherein you're training your muscles. Then burpees is a cardio workout, and then push-ups or a tricep dip is a body weight exercise. So use a combination of cardio and body weights together so that it has a good, better effect in terms of fat burn as well as toning up your body. So use a combination of body weights and cardio both for HIIT.
All right. Thanks for explaining that, Simply. One
Great.
last question. You
Sure.
mentioned for people who are deficient in D3, they should avoid doing HIIT. Could you
That's
please
right.
repeat why that?
Yeah, because D3, so vitamin D plays a role in calcium absorption in the body. So if you don't have sufficient D3 in your body, the calcium that you're consuming through food is not well absorbed into your body. So of course, calcium is required for stronger bones, right? So if you have no enough D3, your bones would be deprived of calcium. So you will end up having weaker bones, fragile bones. So you may just set yourself up for an injury if you have low D3 levels and if you're doing HIIT. So just be careful of that. You may want to supplement yourself with D3 first, fix your levels, and then get into the HIIT mode. Like when I started doing HIIT, I ended up having a very bad, muscle pain and bone pain, for a very long period of time. And when I got my D3 tested, I found out that my D3 levels were 4, and it was super super deficient. So I started supplementing myself with D3 until I got it up to 53 or 56 or something, and then I observed a massive improvement in my performance also. I could actually give in my best when it came to all the body weight exercises after fixing my D3 levels. So yes, that really matters a lot, fixing your D3.
That's a great example. Thanks so much for sharing that, Simply. Uh, this was a fantastic session, Simply, one of my favorites by far. But we have
Thank you
just
so
one
much.
minute. If you could quickly wrap up and we could end the session.
Definitely, definitely. So, just to summarize quickly, HIT is a crazy awesome workout which consumes very, very less time. It's the best workout one can do when you're pressed for time. It includes a combination of short bouts of intense exercise and periods of rest in between. Great for cardiac health, for improving your endurance, stamina, for reducing insulin resistance, for fat loss, and for a nice shredded body as well. Okay, if you do it the right way. And anybody can do it as long as there are no existing or recent injuries or pain or any medical reason to abstain from exercise. So start slow and step it up gradually. Enjoy. That's about it, Tina, and
All right.
everyone.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Simply. Thanks everyone for
Thank
joining
you.
in.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, all of you.
All right.